to you. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Art Lewis Show. On the road today to Miles Market inside the Point at M47 and M46 in Saginaw. It's the former ISDA frame building that's now called the Point. And this is the home of the Sand Sculpture Contest this weekend, starting at 12 noon today. The sculptors will be working on their sculptures for 48 hours till 12 noon Saturday, and then judging will begin. Bring the family out and enjoy a nice time watching these artists do their work. This hour, we're going to talk about a project coming up that has to do with the Home Builders Association of the Great Lakes Bay region, and we'll talk about how it got to be that. They are having a groundbreaking summer celebration. To talk about it this morning, first of all, we have the president of the HBA of the Great Lakes Bay region. He is Mike Tribble. Mike, good morning to you.
Good morning, Art.
Thanks for being with us.
Well, I'm glad to be here today. Thank you.
And also with us today is the chair of the Building Task Force Committee. He's a past board member and first vice president of the Midland HBA before the merger, which we'll talk about. He is Mike McPhillips. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Art. Happy to be here.
Well, glad to have you with us this morning. All right. I think before we get too far asunder here, give us a background of why the Saginaw HBA and the Midland HBA became one.
Well, it goes back a few years ago, and the two associations have been so close together, and it just was a perfect timing. About 3 years ago, we formed a task force. We had both of our executive officers going to be leaving us at the end of the year, both of them kind of retiring, and they actually were the ones who suggested a merger of the two associations. We formed a task force, 4 members from Saginaw, 4 members from Midland, to review if we should join forces, save some administrative costs, but bring together the communities for the association. After a year, we ended up saying, yes, we can do this. It was we'll call it the honeymoon stage, and we then formed the Great Lakes Association, merging the two associations into one.
Is it fair to say that the members of the Saginaw HBA and the Midland HBA were not restricted geographically to Midland County or Saginaw County? They worked in both, didn't they? A lot of them.
Oh yes, yeah, and they still do, and we have members that work in Traverse City even, but our associations for advocating and for memberships and events and that we're kind of restricted to just our county per our national association. And so when we formed the group, or when the task force says let's merge, we then took it to our membership to ask each member to vote. Do you want to merge with Midland? Do you want to merge with Saginaw and create this new organization? Astoundingly, it was probably 99% agreed upon. So although the task force did its due diligence to make sure it was done correctly, and with the 2 counties, actually I should say 3 because Gladwin County is part of the Midland group, but we formed it, got it going. We then immediately said we have to have a new executive officer run the association. We then did a search, hired Chris Page, who is our executive officer now. He has been doing a phenomenal job merging the 2 organizations together. I'm not exactly sure when we started the task force, probably about 9 months ago at least. And about 9 months ago, the task force started to look at locations. What should we do? Because Saginaw had their own building, Midland had their building, and they had their own identities too. So what we ended up doing was created the task force that Mike is in charge of, and they started looking around for locations and a central location. The interesting part of that was with the merger, we wanted to make sure everybody felt that it was their home, not Saginaw, not Midland. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. And I think our members are seeing us now kind of as Great Lakes Bay region, not Saginaw or Midland.
Before we get to the building,
yep,
Let's talk about the purpose of an HBA.
Very good question. So the Home Builders Association advocates for residential construction, trades, codes, building codes. What our association is around for is to promote the building industry and to get people excited about getting into the trades. And also, when you're building a home, you don't realize it, but 25% of the cost of a brand new home is tied to regulations and codes. So, what we're trying to do is keep things attainable, so that the one of the biggest purchase anybody will ever do is buy a home. And what we do is try to make that home affordable and attainable for those individuals. There's a lot of conversations about what we do, but we advocate for the builder and for the homeowner. So it's some people think we're just there for the builder, but we're there for the homeowner because that's the biggest purchase anybody will ever make in their lives.
So, Mike McPhillips, let's talk about the building. First of all, where's it going to be?
The best way to describe the location that everybody could understand is it's at the corner of US 10 and Garfield Road. So I think a lot of people that would drive through that corridor would recognize the dome. Pardon me?
Auburn.
Yeah,
yes.
Auburn. Yeah, Auburn. And they would recognize that dome that's on the highway at that intersection. So we're going to be right on that corner in front of that dome, so it'll be visible from the highway. The other reason we love that location is because of how it's centrally located between, amongst the Tri-Cities. So it offers accessibility to all our members. We've designed it in a way with a lot of thought to how do we best serve our members. So one thing that we did, and my task force has been great. Ron Schauman is one of the key components of the task force. Schauman Builders. And what we've done is in the design, we've created some rooms that are going to be accessible by our members. So we envision a lot of people being mobile today. And so as such, they've got all their stuff in their truck. They're cruising down the road. They might have to take a meeting. They might have to do an interview for one of their openings at their company. And that our building is going to be accessible to be used for that. So that's one of the great uses.
Yeah, that kind of leads to answer a question I was going to ask is what's the purpose of an HBA building? Why do you need one?
Right. Well, in the past, we've just had office buildings. So we've already sold our Midland location. The Saginaw location is listed for sale. So Tyler Schneider has that listed for us. That's on the market. So the funds that we've obtained through the sale of the Midland building is going to be part of what we use to build the new building. So we've got some good cash there. That's what we used in part to buy the land that the building is going to be built on. The other big use that we see is we have a lot of events. We have Hunt Night. We have other small events. We do a lot of training. We do a lot of workforce development, a lot of things that we didn't have the space for before. In a lot of those cases, we'd have to rent space. That was a cost to us, obviously. And so the big benefit we see from that standpoint is we're going to have a large structure connected to the office that's going to allow for those events to take place there on our own site. So I think it's another great benefit to our membership.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back with our guests as we talk about the HBA of the Great Lakes Bay region and their groundbreaking. We'll tell you about this summer celebration coming up. Let me take a moment to remind you that here at the Point at Miles Market, they have the Big Sand Sculpture Contest this weekend, and in about an hour and 40 minutes or so, the sculptors will pick up their trowels and begin working on their projects. They have 48 hours to complete a sand sculpture. It's special sand that interlocks, and it once they're done with it, it can last a week up to months, depending on the weather. And it's fascinating to see them carve. A lot of these folks came out of the ice and snow carving world, And they will have some beautiful, beautiful sculptures. There'll be judging that takes place Saturday, right after the sculptors are done. And, of course, you can always come into Miles Market for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They're open every day except Monday. And have wonderful donuts. I mean, wonderful donuts. And you'll find coffee at Sips. It's all waiting for you here at Miles Market, inside the point, M47 and M46 off Gratiot in Saginaw. We will take a break, and then we'll be back with
If you have unfiled taxes,
This is the Fox Business Report.
Investors are shrugging off the latest tariff developments. More tariff letters are expected today from the Trump administration. Copper prices are off yesterday's highs that followed plans for a 50% tariff on copper imports and 200% on pharmaceuticals. Meta Platforms has purchased a minority stake in eyeglass maker EssilorLuxottica. The two companies already have a deal to produce smart Ray-Ban glasses. Merck is buying London-based Verona Pharmaceuticals, which makes a treatment for COPD. Merck's paying about $10 billion. Starbucks shares are up 3% following reports that its China business has attracted bids valuing the unit at $10 billion. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jimmy Coselda. Invested in you.
Listen to the all-new Brett Baier podcast featuring Common Ground, in-depth talks with lawmakers from opposite sides of the aisle, along with all your Brett Baier favorites like his all-star panel and much more. Available now at foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Rocket Grab.
All right, we're back with you here at the Point, Pinnacle, and Miles Market, Sips, all those wonderful businesses that Linda Shepard has created here. Talking to Mike Tribble, he's the president of the HBA of the Great Lakes Bay region. Mike McPhillips, he's the chair of the Building Task Force Committee, which is now underway because you're going to have a groundbreaking pretty quick here, Mike.
Yes, we are. We're excited about it. So it's next week, Wednesday, July 16th. We're going to have two different events going on that day. The ceremony officially for groundbreaking is 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock on that day. And then we're going to have a nice cookout groundbreaking celebration from 5 to 9, and everybody's welcome to join us.
And that's going to be where?
At the site on the corner of US 10 and Garfield Road.
And you have to reserve?
I think you do have to RSVP by July 14th. So we're asking that people do that, and you can reserve. You can RSVP at www.hbaglbr.com.
So do you ask the question, all of your builders' clients ask them, how long is it going to take? When's it going to be done?
Oh, my gosh. Well, it's a process. So what we're doing as a task force, is the biggest... The biggest thing is the cost right now, and what we're trying to do, since we're in the building industry, we're representing builders. We have a great opportunity for our membership to try to help us with this project. And so one of the big things that we're going to be doing here in the next week or so, and then moving forward as we get this project underway, is look into our membership to see what they could donate, whether it's labor or materials. So they can expect to be hearing from me and other members of my task force in the next coming weeks, and I'm sure they'll be happy and willing to do that. So we're looking forward to it.
So I have to ask this. Because of the nature of building today, here in this area, in this region, we could easily lead the state in growth. We have Corning going to be looking for 1,500 people. Hemlock Semiconductors looking for a couple of hundred. SK Siltron's looking for a couple of hundred, plus others. So there's at least a couple of thousand people that are being sought. First, where are we going to find them? And then, where are we going to house them? And when it comes to that housing part, at 300 plus a square, how do we build affordable housing today?
It's a tough one with the cost of materials these days, a lot of other factors that drive up cost. It's going to be difficult. We have to have other organizations throughout the Tri-Cities in this region to really partner and work to try to make that happen. I don't know if affordable housing, we have to look for grants, we have to look for other funding through state and federal government to help offset the cost to the consumer.
We'll never be beyond it, but are we going to see a waning of single-family dwellings and more to the multiple family units, condos, apartments, and the like?
I think so. Again, you've got to get the developers to take a look at all that stuff. Midland in particular, they're so short on rentals, and you know what?
Not alone.
I think that when you look at whatever you call them, millennials or whatever the age is of the upcoming prospective homeowner, a lot of them aren't buying houses like our generation did. It wasn't the first thing on their mind. So I think, multifamily apartment complexes, that kind of thing is going to serve the community well.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, is a lot of folks who have grown up in their house don't want to sell it. They're sitting with a 2 or 3% mortgage. Why should they turn it into a 6% mortgage on something else?
Yeah.
Right now.
And I live
you're
that.
A banker.
I live that every day.
I was going to say you.
I advise a lot of people. I mean, I'm in the business to write mortgages. I'm in the business to sell loans. And
you work for Horizon.
I work for Horizon Bank. And so a lot of people will come to me and say, I need to get some cash out of my house. I need to refinance to get that cash so I can do home improvements. And the last thing you want to do is advise them to refinance that 3% rate. It's just not in their best interest. So we have a lot of other products that they can pull from equity, whether it's a home equity line of credit or a home equity loan. And that's always going to be the best solution until these rates drop, because we're still floating around 7% on a 30-year fixed.
Yeah, it's going to take a number of decreases from our friends in
Yeah.
the Fed.
Yeah. And we thought that would have happened. I think everybody's in agreement that we thought we'd have seen more of that in the last couple of years, or even the last year more likely. But we haven't. So we won't get too political, but it's just not happening.
Listen, I understand. But Mike, let me ask you this. Without looking at future builds, how's the housing stock in the Great Lakes Bay region?
We are losing 10,000 houses a year, literally, on the amount of houses that are needed to replenish the inventory that we have. So typically we will build 25,000 units a year. We are building about 15,000 units in Michigan a year right now. So as that perpetuates every year, we're that much farther behind. Back in 2008, when the first big downturn was in the building industry, we lost a lot of builders. We talked about the trades and that type of stuff, and our builders from Michigan moved south to where their work was at. And that's fine. A lot of them had not come home to Michigan. So what's happening is, we have the ability to do it. We just don't have the people to do it with. And, we talked about, the different companies that are looking to build in this area. Part of that problem is if you have a piece of land, it will take you 2 to 3 years just to get that land developed, ready to build a house on that property. So, we look at, semiconductor, trying to get some people in there. And, I don't disagree with Mike here regarding the apartments, but people, first-time home buyers, the average age of them is about 41 years old now.
Right, but in my day,
Yep.
if I were out for my first-time home and I'm going to be looking for a starter home in the 12 to 1,500 square feet, let's say.
Yep.
So let's say 1,500 at the upper end of that. Back in the day, I could find one of those for $100,000 or less.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today, with the cost of construction, it's $450,000.
Yep.
Who can afford that? A young person starting out looking for that first home. How do they do that? You're the banker.
Well, it's a lot more difficult, obviously. Like you said, I can tell you the house that I bought in 2006, I paid $125 for. I haven't done a ton to it, and it's going to probably sell for $300. Same house.
Which you will have to turn around or pay tax.
I will have to turn around and pay some tax on it. But so yeah, I mean the cost of everything has gone up, but income has gone up. I think it's more difficult. I finance young people every day that are buying a $200,000 house, and they both have good jobs, and you can make it work. Rents have
$200,000 house that would probably be doable.
Yeah, it is, and there's construction is higher than buying an existing home. There's no question. And I do a lot of construction financing. You're going to find the one issue on the banking side is you want to have the house appraised for what you're paying for it, right? And so our market has I guess adjusted to what the cost is of construction. So in other words, if you build a house for $400,000, there's enough comparable properties that have been built recently so you can have an appraisal come in at the cost that you're paying for the house to be built. So in reality, in my personal business, I'm doing more construction financing than I am purchase financing because the inventory in this area is so low that folks see new construction as the best option, even though you're going to pay a little more for it.
There was an article in the Free Press the other day about car loans, and that they were saying that people are pushing the $1,000 a month mark, going out 84 months. Is that happening in the mortgage world too? I mean, are the payments much greater than they were, say, 10 years ago?
The payments are always going to be greater based on the rate that we're paying today, but we haven't changed our structure. You're still going to be maxed out at 30 years. At least our bank doesn't offer any kind of a 40-year.
Yeah.
And we touched on those over the years. I've been doing this for 25 years, and those were a thing. What a lot of people do right now is that they can finance on an ARM, an adjustable rate mortgage, get a little better rate, still amortize it over 30 years. And, hopefully after that 5-year fixed, before it adjusts, the rates are lower and they can refinance out of that and go into a fixed rate.
Yeah. Of course, the other thing, too, it was one thing to have 20% down on a $150,000 house. It's another thing to have 20% down on a $450,000 house.
No question. And the down payments we offer zero down. We offer 5% down. You
do.
could even do a conventional mortgage right now at 3% down. So, but again, that results in a higher mortgage loan amount and a higher payment. The less you put down, of course.
We're going to take a break and be back with our guests from the Home Builders Association of the Great Lakes Bay region. They have their groundbreaking summer celebration coming up Wednesday, July 16th, as they break ground for their brand new HPA building. More on that when we return.
At Crystal Clear Hearing in Sacramento.
All right, we're back with you here on WSGW. The Art Lewis Show coming to you from Miles Market inside the Point, where the sand sculpture contest is taking place outside today, tomorrow, and Saturday. More on that coming up. We're talking to Mike Tribble. He's the president of the HBA of the Great Lakes Bay region. Mike McPhillips, the chair of the Building Task Force Committee. He's a past board member. He was the first VP of the Midland Area HBA before the merger, and he is a banker. So the building groundbreaking takes place on Wednesday, July 16th. Before you got to that point, how much government involvement was there in the permitting process?
Well, for that building right now, we are still going through it. Williams Township has been great to work with. They're excited to have us there. They are helping us with it, but that has started probably at least 6 months ago to this process. So we're excited. We feel that they will help us get this building up and that within the next 12 months.
You were telling me about a builder who's dealing with Lansing. It's been at least 9 months trying to get a subdivision plot approved. Who speaks for the Home Builders Associations in Lansing?
So your and I'll say it this way, the membership in your local Home Builders Association of the Great Lakes Bay region gives you the ability to have a voice in Lansing. We have a Home Builders Association of Michigan, and then we also have the National Home Builders Association. So your membership in one organization like Great Lakes gets you all three associations. The Michigan Home Builders Association advocates for builders and homeowners in Lansing.
So they're your lobbyists.
That's our lobbying group. I just so happen to be a member, a senior officer of our Michigan Association.
All right, so let me ask you this then.
Yes.
When you go to Lansing and you lobby for the builders, you think they're listening?
Yes, they are. And I will tell you, we've had some code fights here recently. And the big thing with the government is telling us what we should be doing as a builders. And I will say, just this week, I won't say it was a win, but we've got Lansing listening to us to know that we have different codes. They have what they call the 21 code, the 24 code. Every 3 years, there's a new residential code coming out. Michigan, exactly. Well, Michigan currently is working under the 15 code. So, but we've had some success in that with Lansing. So, yes, we are successful down in Lansing. We also are working at the national in Washington, D.C. with our Congress and with our senators, and they're listening there too. Workforce development is very large, and Job Corps was one of the things that were cut out of the recent budget in Washington, D.C., and we're working with them right now to get that something like Job Corps back up and running, because Job Corps is our training arm to get our trades back into the kids. I'll say it this way: the kids, when they go through, whether they go through college or they go through a trades course, and that's what our building is being built for, is our trades. We're trying to get the trades back in there, and workforce development is so crucial to that, because the kids are told, and I'll say it politely, you have to go to college.
Well, we did that for years. We've kind of moved a little bit away from that now, it seems.
And we've lost a lot of population to that.
We have here in Michigan, yeah. So, which brings up the question: your builders, your members, do they have trouble finding labor?
Oh, 100%. If they could find good, skilled craftsmen, they would hire them in a heartbeat. And that's one of those things which is so crucial with building a new house, being affordable, attainable, and it's a good profession to get into if you know how to work with your hands. And there's a lot of builders who have not went to college, and don't get me wrong, college is great. I've got my degree from Saginaw Valley and that, but and I use it every day of the year. But that was for me. There are other people that work better with their hands. My association knows that I do not swing a hammer. They don't want to see me swing a hammer, but I do help them out other ways. But yeah, it's the trades are so important, and our new building that we're excited about is going to have a large, about 8,000 square foot addition on the back, which will be just as Mike was mentioning earlier, kind of for our events and such. But it's going to be a training classroom also for training.
So a big meeting room.
Big meeting room, and we're going to be training carpenters, plumbers, electricians in the residential code sections of those facets. And I'll tell you, you can make a very good living at those lines.
Yeah, and that's something. It's more than just swinging a hammer or sweating a pipe or doing all of that. You got to know the codes that go along with it, don't you?
100%. And as we were mentioning, they change every 3 years. And part of that changing is we have to educate the builders, and that's what we're going to be doing at that building also, is educate those code changes. Some of the codes, I will say, we're in favor of
Well, something makes
the
sense.
codes.
It
Yes.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. And energy efficiencies and all those other things. And safety. That's the other thing.
Oh,
is
yeah.
Our association, we're not against codes.